Welcome to the Lone Zebra podcast, where I share my nitty-gritty health story and what I learned from the School of Hard Knocks. Things that doctors will never tell you. Hi, I'm your host, Diane Lalomia, and I'm glad you're here. We zebras need to stick together. Today's episode is episode number 007 on the Lone Zebra. Today's title is Be Yourself. We're going to talk about what it's like to be yourself as a zebra in certain situations. In my case, it was getting some dental work done. So we're going to talk about teeth and what it means to be a zebra and deal with the dentist. It's not always fun, but we get through it because we're tough. We're zebras. Stay tuned for more on today's episode. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started. Today's story is Be Yourself, and my story starts today when I was little, about 4.5. I was being the typical kid, and I was hopping around in the house with my ankles crossed. My dad told me not to do that before I got hurt, to stop. I didn't listen. Like most 4.5-year-olds, I just waited till I got around the corner and I started hopping. Kabam! I fell and I broke my 2 front teeth. I knocked them out on the kitchen floor. Well, they took me to the dentist the next day and there wasn't anything he could do to save them. So I wished for 2 front teeth for Christmas for 6 whole years. That's right. I didn't get front teeth until I was 10 years old. And in the meantime, I had to have a lot of dental work done because my teeth were too big for a little mouth. I had to have teeth pulled and I had to wear some appliance that was called a spacer on my teeth to keep them from crowding up again after teeth were removed. Baby teeth were removed and eventually 4 permanent, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. So, I went through quite a bit with my teeth. And then, as an adult, I had root canals and crowns and you name it. And I even had braces. That's a whole nother story. But recently, about 6 months ago, or a little bit more, my dentist told me my teeth were bad and there wasn't anything he could do to fix my upper teeth. So it took me a long time to accept that idea and to get prepared emotionally for having my upper teeth pulled because my only option was dentures. Implants were not an option. Because of the sensitivities I have to nickel, I knew that having metal posts were not an option. And if I did have a sensitivity, I had to have something I could remove from my mouth, not something that was screwed in. And I had to wait for a dentist. And then, gosh forbid, things didn't work out. Then what was I going to do? And those things are darn expensive. Thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking big time bucks. People have to save up or take a loan to get these kind of things because insurance doesn't pay for that. Not all of it. So anyways, that's what I had to do. And it was about a month ago that I had the extractions done. So I pre-recorded the podcast and got way ahead of the game on the first half a dozen episodes, and some of the portions were pre-recorded throughout the first 6 months. I mean, I really got to jump. And I was even hesitating about whether or not to release the podcast until after the first of the year, when I knew I could talk and get back to it. Well, I didn't think that was such a good idea. God kept telling me, there is no time like the present. What are you waiting for? And then when my teeth came out, I thought, God sure has a sense of humor, huh? Here he is telling me to do a podcast. The next thing I know, I have no teeth. Well, that's quite the challenge. Thanks a lot. I guess he thought I was up for it. So here I am. And I'm not doing too bad with my false teeth. That's where I'm at. I'll fill you in on what I've learned. So stay tuned for the next segment. And in the meantime, I'm going to go check out my new teeth. Reading from the book, Women of Purpose, a daily devotional for discovering a meaningful life in Christ by Sarah Daigle. Day 28. For you formed my inward parts, you covered me in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my substance, being yet unformed, and in your book they were all written, the days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they would be more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with you. Psalms 139, 13 through 18, New King James Version. When God created you, he gave you unique and special qualities. You are unable to give glory unless you receive God's glory. Unless you see you are destined for greatness, whatever that may look like. Unless you know you are a piece of God's passion, which he created without answering to another for his creativity. He certainly doesn't answer to us, his creations. He is the ultimate artist and has plans for his paintings. Ever seen the look on a child's face when you ask him what he wants to do when he grows up? Unabashed delight as he shares great and awesome plans. He knows he can do it. It takes only about 15 years for a child's spirit to wilt and have him believe all he can do is small things. Why? Why are we not full of passion and give that passion to children so that at age 15 they still believe they were destined for great things? You can only fly as high as you aim your sights, and you won't aim your sights high if you despise yourself. God is your artist. Pursue your calling, whether it fits your own perception of greatness or not. If God called you to do it, it is great. A dear sister wrote out these purposes of her heart. I purpose to channel my energies into speaking life to the spiritually and emotionally dead. I purpose to overcome evil by binding up the brokenhearted and pointing them to beauty. I purpose to fight for justice by being an advocate for the misused. I purpose to be a voice against the victimization of the vulnerable. I purpose to fight for the freedom of souls in spiritual and emotional captivity. I purpose to live out sacrificial love without expectations of my own. I purpose to stay connected to the eternal purpose of ministering joy to the mourning. I purpose to shine Christ hope to hearts overtaken with despair. I purpose to keep my eyes, ears, and heart sensitized to signs of hidden pain. I purpose to know the heart of God and allow my heart to be broken with His. I purpose to seek justice, love, mercy, and walk humbly. This dear lady was born into a large family of 12. Her passion for others began at a young age, and everywhere she went she sought out the lonely, hurting, or sad. In large crowds she was drawn to the most vulnerable. She presently finds herself in Greece surrounded by refugees, and even there is serving tea to the most vulnerable of all, trafficked women who have fled the Middle East and are now stranded on the island with nowhere to go. She sits with them, listens to their stories, serves them tea, and then she fights for them until an agency agrees to take them to a safe place. They kiss her face, they weep, and when she is in need, they care for her in return. But it didn't start in Greece. She lived like that, just like that, at home, in her parents' house, on a regular Sunday, in a small church, and in her job as a local grocery in a small town. So can you. Purpose to live like Jesus lived, to reach out always, every day, and your life will change. He says we are His hands and feet. If your life is empty and apathetic, remind yourself that a disciple of Jesus has the deepest passion to live for, because He calls us to live like He lived and to walk with the hurting just like He did. When we do, life opens up because our souls come alive when we breathe the same breath He breathes. Our souls were made to dance to the eternal. Nothing short of that will satisfy. Matthew chapter 25, verses 14 through 30, speaks of a man who went on a journey and gave talents, those are coins in biblical times, to 3 of his servants. Both men with 5 and 2 talents busily traded their money and made more. The man with 1 talent found a place to hide it and just left it there until his master returned. When the master returned, he praised the servants who used and cultivated what they were given. The lazy servant was reprimanded and cast out. This parable is the source of our English word talents, meaning skills or abilities. We may personally feel like the servant who was given 1 talent and feel intimidated by others who have more. Because of insecurities, we hide and do not cultivate what we do have. We fret over what others may think of us instead of shining where we are called to be. We are a bit like a mountain flower refusing to bloom because it is not a fertilized rose in some oft-viewed neighborhood yard. How ridiculous, we say. We love finding flowers in obscure places, and they mean more to us when they bloom in less desirable locations. Every person has something to offer. When we offer what we do have, we grow more, and we honor the Lord by walking in what He designed. The Lord needs us to bloom regardless of where we are planted. Whether you are a fisherman's wife in a lonely hut in Alaska, or a pastor's wife living in a fishbowl life in some megachurch in San Diego, each of you has a responsibility to find what you are gifted in and to function in those gifts. God, who at various times and in various ways spoke in time past to the fathers by the prophets. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1. See how God wants us to speak in various times and in various ways? When you notice a deep desire within to do something, pay attention. It may be the very thing you were born to do. If you love painting, by all means, buy a brush and set to creating art. If you thrive in needy situations, take note and realize God is calling you to reach out to hurting people. If you love visiting the sick, learn all you can about how to minister to them in the best way. Simply function in what you do best, and you will be purpose-filled. Having purpose brings joy and intimacy with the Lord, and is one of the best counters for depression. Father, help us to dance to the eternal more than we dance to any other person or thing. Amen. Getting dentures for someone with mast cell activation syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos, or POTS, one of these or all three, it's a little different for us, just as it always is as a zebra. But the things that I encountered were things I want to share with you that might help another zebra before you find yourself in some unusual situations. First of all, the extraction was done about a month ago. I found myself horizontal for about the first 24 hours due to POTS and the increased blood pressure flow when getting up, sitting up, standing up, moving around. I had to stay still and laying down so that the clots would form. I know, it's a little gross, but it is what it is. So I did have good healing and no problem there as long as I just stayed quiet for about the first 24 hours. The next hurdle I ran across was when we did the soft reline. That's what the dentist does when your gums start to shrink and the dentures no longer fit. They use a soft reline material, or at least they call it that, to fill the gap so that your dentures fill up with that material and fit snug again instead of being loose from all the shrinkage from your tissues going down from the initial swelling. Well, the material that they use at the dentist office, most people will be able to confirm the smell is pretty bad. For someone with chemical sensitivities, I warn you to make sure you discuss all the things that are going to be used in your adventure with dentures, because there are things that are going to kick your butt. That's what happened to me. I was flailing my arms and had this dentures with this material stuck in it, and I was told to bite down so I couldn't talk. And the dentist stuck that in my mouth, and the smell was like a nail salon 1,000 times stronger. I mean, it was incredibly chemical smell. I couldn't breathe. I just about knocked him out with my arms flailing, asking to go outside to get some air, with my teeth clenched with this thing in my mouth, these dentures. They did open the window, and I was able to breathe. But it was pretty scary for me, and I think this dentist was a little afraid too. But the long story short, that material ended up coming out, and I was sent to the oral surgeon to get a different material because the dentist I was going to only had one option. Wasn't an option for me. The material I ended up getting was referred to as UFI, which it's a softer material and almost feels like a gummy worm that you would make or eat. It's a very soft, pliable plastic, and it sets up inside the dentures. It doesn't stick to your teeth or actually to your gums. It sticks inside the denture, and then it is like a mold. It forms a soft mold. It's specifically shaped around your gum line, so it fits you perfectly. And that seemed to work. Now, going forward, this material does not last as long as what I was told by the oral surgeon that applied it. So another soft reline is probably in store, at least a few soft relines, because my scheduled denture extravaganza, if you will, my next thing is what they call a hard reline. I found some material that I believe is the same material as the U5 that the oral surgeon used. It's called denture fit. I'm checking into that, but I believe it's the same exact material. It doesn't have the monomer, which is the chemical smell that was in the other. And it's used by a lot of dentists for soft relines. It's not something that you want to experience if you have chemical sensitivities. The other thing, too, is that adhesives are not an option for me because I already know I have a bad history with adhesives with the Ehlers-Danlos. My gums is not going to handle adhesives and dentures. I know from past experience that's probably not even a good idea because if you have a sensitive reaction and you put adhesives in dentures, you're not going to get them out of your mouth for maybe a day. And if you've got burning or any other sensitive reaction, that is probably the worst thing you could do to yourself is to get something stuck that burns your gums. I wouldn't even want to go there. So this denture fit is probably my best option for good fitting dentures. It really makes a big difference. They don't slip and slide around. They're not loose. It's definitely something I'm going to be looking into because I don't think that I can afford a couple $100 soft reline every month or two at the dentist. I just am not made out of money. Another option, I do believe, is on the table. So that's about it for what I've experienced so far. I do have nickel allergies, so doing dental implants was not an option for me either because they use metal posts when they do those type of implants, snap-ons, etc. There is metal, and that metal contains nickel. Not only that, but they cannot be removed by the patient. They're implanted, and the dentist has to do that. So if there was a reaction, middle of the night, something happened, I would not be able to take them out of my mouth and get them out of my body. No, I can't fathom that either. So I didn't even discuss it. It was absolutely no, I'll go the denture route and hope for the best. So far, so good. Just a few bumps in the road. The section on dental health in the book Mast Cells United by Amber Walker on page 151. Dental and periodontal or gum deterioration is a common finding in patients with MCAS, despite patients typically reporting proper oral hygiene techniques. Afrin notes, teeth crumble years prematurely. As with just about every aspect of MCAS, we are far from knowing the particular abnormal mast cell mediator, quote, soups, end quote, that cause each of these problems. Mast cells play an important role in attacking bad bacteria in the mouth and promoting healing. So perhaps, in theory, the patients who suffer from persistent and chronic gum and dental issues comprise the patient population who have an underlying MCAS mechanism that results in a flooding of too many chemical mediators to the area, which subsequently increases inflammation. Visits to the dentist can be particularly difficult for patients with MCAS, and pre-medication may be advised by the patient's medical team. It is important to explain the MCAS condition to all dental staff as sensitivities to gloves, numbing medications, injections, pressure/vibration, and ingredients in the flavored cleaning agents can all occur. Patients with MCAS may also react chronically to filling ingredients, and the discussion of pulling a tooth versus filling a cavity may be relevant for some individuals in this patient population. MCAS affects a lot of the body. Actually, all of the body, including your teeth. Today's featured music is by Hector Gabriel. The title of the song, Never Gonna Let Me Go. All information in this podcast or on the website, blog, or in newsletters is for educational purposes only and not intended to be construed as medical advice, diagnosis, or prescription. Please seek the help of a medical professional to get treatment for your particular condition. Thanks for listening to the Lone Zebra podcast. Don't forget to check out the show notes at dianelalomia.substack.com. That's Diane, D-I-A-N-E, Lalomia, Lalomia.substack.com. Music on the podcast is provided by Epidemic Sound. See the show notes for featured music and artists. Don't forget to share this podcast with your family and friends, especially fellow zebras. And don't forget to rate The Lone Zebra on your favorite podcast app so others can find me. Until next time, blessings. Have a great day.